All right, so I know I'm a little bit late on this one, but I mean, I say that there's a number of people still talking about it and debating over this one. So, um, so here's the deal. We already know the timeline of what happened as far as the events. Like Barrera was fired in late 2023 over her post regarding Israel and Gaza, and as a result of that, you know, the the development for Scream 7 was going through all this. There were so many different obstacles that got in the way. Jenna Ortega ended up quitting. Christopher Landon, who was going to direct the film, ended up quitting. And so, Christopher Landon is a director slash writer slash producer who did many films. He did some of the Paranormal Activity films. He did Time Cut, which I haven't got to that yet. Heart Eyes, which was a good movie, and Drop was actually pretty decent. There's a number of things. He did the Happy Death Day movies, which I wasn't really into them. But, and so this one, according to People magazine right here, says that uh, it was interesting that this came up because I had to double check a few sources to confirm that she actually said this. So apparently, Melissa Barrera thinks that the the studio behind Scream 7 lied about the box office numbers and that there's no way that they grossed the amount of money that they did. So, last I checked, Scream 7 had grossed over, what was that, $210 million at the box office, which was way more than hardly any of us expected. Let me see. Okay, so they're at nearly 214 million on a budget of 45 million. Now, my initial prediction was this. I said if they had just left everything as it was, Barrera stayed there, Ortega stayed there, they bring back Hayden Panettiere and a few others, I would say this movie could probably gross at least 175 million. The first Scream film grossed 173 million. But I said, with all that stuff going on there, I said, well, right before Scream 7 got released, my prediction was it's probably not going to go that much above 130 to 150 million. And now it's at almost 214 million. So I got to say, that was a shock considering everything that was going on. And so let's get into it. So this article was published by Jack Smart in People magazine. It says right here, Melissa Barrera spoke to Variety about being fired in 2023 from a lead role in Scream 7 after starring in the previous two installments. She said about the movie's box office results, quote unquote, I think they lied about the numbers. Barrera is currently starring on Broadway in Titanic. Titanic? Titanic? I don't know. I'm gonna look into that one later. Melissa Barrera is calling Scream 7's box office success into question. Let me see. There's no way she. The seventh installment in the Ghostface franchise, distributed by Paramount Pictures, earned 213 million worldwide after its February 27th theatrical release, per Box Office Mojo. Following Barrera's answer, Variety noted that it independently verifies box office gross numbers. It was reported in 2023 that production company Spyglass Media Group fired Barrera due to comments she shared regarding the Israel-Hamas war. The In the Heights star had starred in the fifth and sixth movies alongside Jenna Ortega. People magazine has reached out to a rep for Paramount for comment. Responding to Variety reporter Marlo Stern's assertion that the sequel sucked, Barrera responded, I know. And the St. James Theater stage door, where she greets fans after Titanic performances, the actress added she signs Scream related merchandise every night. She said, quote unquote, she said, people who love me from those movies are coming to see the show, and they can't ever take that away from me. Now this is where it got more interesting. She supposedly referred to the Scream 7 cast members as scabs. And I thought, okay, let me search this one. And there's a few sources that confirm that, yeah, she said that. This was according to People Magazine, Entertainment Weekly, Screen Rant, Deadline. Um, there's another one that's geared towards horror fan geeks. What is that called? I'm blanking on the name of it at the moment, but some of you probably know what I'm talking about. Okay, so asked if the Scream 7 cast, which included Nev Campbell, Courtney Cox, Isabel May, Jasmine Savoy, and Mason Gooding, were basically crossing the picket line, Barrera added, I think they all are, and they have to live with that. So, after being fired from the film and receiving what she describes as a little public support, Barrera recalled wondering whether her stage and screen career was over. She said, the pessimistic side of me was having those thoughts, but the optimistic side of me was like, hell no, I'm sure the tide will turn. And it has. Um, and and so basically, let me type this in right here because this can put it into words better than I can. Um, so what does what does cross the picket line mean? Cross the picket line means to enter a workplace, business, or site where employees are protesting, picketing during strike. It represents breaking a labor strike by continuing to work, patronizing the business, or delivering goods, thus defying the solidarity of the striking workers. Now, she's basically saying that this is what they did when they decided to star in Scream 7. So basically, what she means is, hey, it's almost like we stand in solidarity. They fired me over posts that were morally correct. And, you know, a lot of people think Jenna Ortega did the right thing by quitting the movie. But let's face it. I mean, let's face the facts right here. Regardless of what we think about the Israel situation, regardless of what we think about the Scream movies by themselves, the fact of the matter is, I think this is a stronger argument to be made for, people like Mason Gooding and Jasmine Brown, is that, and Isabel May and some of these other newer actors and actresses, it's that they feel, I'm just assuming, they feel that they're in a position where it's like, hey, we're not Will Smith. We're not Brad Pitt. Now, again, I don't care what people think of this. I know it sounds ignorant. I have a cheesy and corny way of kind of putting my thoughts together, and I have some kind of cheesy messages, but work with me on this one. These people are looking like, hey, we're not Will Smith. We're not Brad Pitt. We're not Julia Roberts or Susan Sarandon or Sandra Bullock or, we're not any A or B level stars. Like, you know, we, uh, number one, we like this franchise. And again, even though we hate what they did to Barrera, but what's the best way I can put this? It's like, hey, if we're taking this money and we it's basically like this, guys. We're doing this movie because one, we like it, and we could use the money. Okay, we're not wealthy like a lot of these top stars. We're not. Now, again, people will look at that and say, "Oh, you're a sucker, you're a traitor, you're a simp, a sap, or whatever you want to call it." But I'm saying I think that case is stronger to be made for them as opposed to like a Nev Campbell or a Courtney Cox, who, you know, they get residual pay from the first few. I mean, they get residual pay, especially from the original film, all their other movies. Just like Nev Campbell's getting her residuals from Party of Five, and Courtney Cox is getting residuals from Friends and stuff like that. So it's like, I mean, if they wanted to do the movie, then go ahead and do the movie. Now, if you don't want to do the movie, then you don't have to do it. Um, where's the other article that I saw where? Oh, this is the other one I wanted to get to. Hold on, hold on. Melissa Barrera on the cast of Scream 7 being Scabs. She was quoted as saying, oh, 100%. I think they all are, and they have to live with that. The only way they were able to make that movie after what happened was to nostalgia bait as much as possible. See, this is where I'm half and half because there's a lot of people who make the argument to say that the only reason why the movie made that much money is because they relied too heavily on nostalgia. Now, everybody who saw the movie knows what I'm talking about. If you hadn't seen the movie yet and you don't want any spoilers, I suggest hitting the pause button and turning this video off and go click on something else. But so they did bring back some original names and names from the first few franchises, first few movie series. The they did bring back. I'm surprised they didn't bring back Skeet Ulrich as Billy Loomis, even though they mentioned his name. But you had Stu Macher in there, played by Matthew Lillard. You had Billy's mother, Nancy Loomis, played by Lori. Oh, great, why am I drawing a blank on her name right now? What is wrong with me right now? What is going on? Laurie Metcalf. Metcalf. Then you have Scott Foley playing Roman Bridger, who was the killer in the third movie. And then they had also mentioned some other names too. But And then, of course, they had the AI with all of them. They had the AI like Dewey and all that. So people looked at that and they said, well, if it wasn't for that, then there's no way in hell this movie would have made anywhere close to even 200 million or even 170 million. Now, here's the thing. She might possibly be right on that. She might be. So I'm not here to argue that point. Um, but let's also look at this. Technically, all of the Scream movies and most movie series and franchises in general do kind of rely on the not rely on it, but they do the nostalgia thing. And it's like this. Each of the movies, every movie, the second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth movies all reference Billy Loomis. They all reference Stumacher. Each movie had reference killers from the last movie. So anybody can make an argument to say, oh, that's nostalgia. Well, that's what you do with a franchise that follows a story. They do that with Halloween. They do that with Jason and Freddy. They do that with, I'm sure, Chucky, even though it's been a long time since I've seen Chucky. They do this with, I'm sure they do with the Prom Night movies, even action film series. I mean, Fast and Furious, Mission Impossible, Taken. That's the case with all of them. So when people talk about nostalgia, I don't see what makes this one, that particularly special in terms of, oh, they had to do this in order to get some extra bucks or whatever. I don't know. But I'll tell you this, regardless of our thoughts on what she said, here's one thing I'm sure of. I'm sure every single person who saw this, whether we like her or not, all thought the same thing, which is she basically just killed any possible chance that she had to return to the franchise. Because I was the one saying, hey, if they don't bring her back for the seventh movie, I really hope they bring her, Jenna Ortega, and Hayden Panettiere back to the eighth movie. Now it looks like Barrera for sure is not going to return. Is Ortega going to return? That's a huge maybe. Do I think that Hayden Panettiere will return? I think there's a good, theoretically speaking, I think there's at least a good 60 to 65% chance that she'll return, maybe possibly close to 70. So either way, I just thought that was interesting. I know the video was kind of sloppy. I know I could have done better with it. It's okay. I'm still working on that. But I don't know. You guys give me your thoughts on it. And, subscribe to my YouTube. If you're watching this on Facebook, subscribe to my YouTube. It's in the comment section. Um, the link to if you go to my About section, the links to my other socials are there. TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky. And if you're watching this on YouTube, all those links are in the About section for my YouTube bio as well. So stay tuned.